So we kind of go from the big picture, the why, and we want to look at the how. So how do we accomplish producing disciples? Important. A one-on-one fashion, which we talked about, kind of looking at it through those three principles. So we want to get this one-on-one discipleship occurring. Why is it important? We see that disciples are not mass-produced. We can't just simply drop our students in on a Wednesday night, have them go through the games, maybe get to a Sunday morning and go to the right trip and go to the right Bible study, and then we will produce a fully formed, solid disciple of Christ who's ready to go on and conquer the world. It doesn't work like that. It's intentional. It's intentional, and because they're not mass-produced, the intentionality comes by for us creating a culture of discipleship, creating a real culture of discipleship. In Acts chapter 8, verse 4, we see this a little bit in Scripture where the early believers, early Christians were scattered across Asia Minor, that whole general region, as the early church was forming. And before then, discipleship was occurring, right? They were literally doing life and doing all these things that we looked at in the last portion with the early church leaders, the actual apostles. We're talking, chapter 8, it's not Paul yet, but Stephen and Peter and all the disciples, they're the ones who are active leaders. Followers of them are the ones who eventually get scattered, and they're the ones who go and do the work of the kingdom. And this is what it says. Therefore, they were scattered abroad, and they went everywhere preaching the word. They went everywhere preaching the word. Now, how did they do that? I mean, I'm sure at some point there was some sort of specific training, but the point made by the author of the book we were looking at is that that was just what they knew. Specifically, he says that they were just in a atmosphere of witnessing. And so that feeds into discipleship. We want to create an atmosphere of discipleship. Like that's what we want to have. To where people come in, adults, new volunteers, students who come, student leaders who get raised up, that there's this atmosphere of discipleship that starts at the top, that starts with us. And so we are that first portion of implementing that, and again, modeling and teaching it to our students. So here's what we're looking for. We are looking for you to find one or two students to disciple in a one-on-one fashion. And here's the commitment level we're looking for. Meeting with them once a month, 30 minutes to an hour, meeting with them once a month, communicating with them at least once a week. So texting, calling, maybe you see them again, but communicating with them at least once a week. And then every time that you're here at church and that student is also here at church, that you're connecting with them. Now, connecting can just be simple, but that you talk to them, you seek them out. Those are really the three things we're looking at. Right? That's kind of like that minimum rung of this is what we think is going to be important. These three elements. One-on-one, off-site, off-campus, some other time, once a month. Okay, we can do that. So one-on-one, once a month. Number two, connect with them once a week. Communicate. Three, anytime you're here, connect with them in that fashion, in person. Okay, those three things. So we're going to look at that, and break that down. But first I want to cast a story to you, throw it your way, of Mark Hall. Mark Hall is the lead singer, Casting Crowns, and he's still a youth pastor now. It's actually kind of crazy. I didn't realize that. He was speaking at Youth Pastor Summit a couple years ago, and he's a youth pastor from Sunday through Thursday, and then Sunday through Wednesday, then Thursday through Saturday he goes and does the music. So he's still an awesome youth pastor, and so he had his 40th birthday, whatever, a few years ago. And he was trying to just figure out, there's a lot of people that he knows in his life kind of reaching that status. And so he's like, all right, well, let me just try to filter this down of who I'm going to invite and bring to this celebration. So he's like, let me just invite the students that I used to have in youth group and their families and their people, whoever that was in my youth group and are still in ministry in some capacity. Maybe they are on staff, maybe they're volunteers, but just anybody in that category. So he had a whole lot of people come. It's a great event, but he asked him, he's like, hey, so what was it that made it stick for you guys? You guys were in my youth group. You're grown up, they're adults, you have families. How did you stick to it? How did it go from where you were in my ministry to now you're in ministry yourself? And he wasn't making the point that the only kids that make it are those who are in ministry. He was just, let's actually figure this out and what happened. And they said three main things were the themes that they were seeing. One, that they actually had some sort of leadership in the youth group, that they had a job. There was something that they had to do. That was one of them. The other one was that they were mentored by an adult. some form of one-on-one discipleship, and then they were also and or mentored by another student. And so we're trying to accomplish those three things with what we're getting ready to do here in our new kind of vision for Amplify, giving students opportunities to lead. You guys were asking to lead in a one-on-one fashion, and then also finally that our students would lead and they would be those mentors. So those are the three things we're looking at, and that commitment level we're asking for, that minimum level, kind of just like, hey, here's what we can do. I'm going to try to hit that goal. I need to do that. I need to disciple students like that. But it's so that we can do it to our students to where they can fall into that category. The kids that seem to make it, the kids that get it, the kids that hold on to their faith in school, the kids that move forward and are vibrant believers and disciples who are making disciples. And that's really what we're looking for.